Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Execute Successful Product Launch Using Business Process Automation by Accrete Solutions and Creatio. Before we get started, I would like to go over a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any question during the presentation, please type into the question box. We will bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions at the end. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to you following the presentation for your own purpose and share with your peers in your organization. Now, I would like to introduce today's presenters. We have Ashish Saxena. He is Vice President Global Solutions Delivery at Accrete. I would request Ashish to share a brief about his profile and his experience. Ashish.
Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to the webinar. So my name is Ashish Saxena. I am the Vice President at Accrete, responsible for global project delivery. I have about 25 plus years of experience in working on different processes and organizations, small and large, and worked in different areas like order to cash, service to cash, logistics, inventory, service, procurement, manufacturing, etc. on different platforms like SAP, Creatio, Salesforce, etc. I've also worked in large consulting companies like KPMG and Bearing Point in the past. And before I started consulting, I was in the business side as well. And one of the things which I came across working in the business as well as working in consulting across the wide spectrum of ERP and CRM processes is that most companies have challenges in product launch. There is no clear defined processes or systems in place to take care of that. And that is what we're going to talk about today with Creatio. Handing it back over to Jason.
Yeah, nice to meet everybody. Oh, sorry, I'll just real quick. Nice to meet everyone today. My name is Jason Miller. I am the head of pre-sales for Creatio. And a little bit of background on me. So I come from the business side. I am not an IT guy by trade, but I do run our technical side of sales here. I've got a Apex CSCP certification. I've been in supply chain and manufacturing for a number of years, and I've been working on the IT side for the better part of the last 15 years. Going to talk to you a lot today about how to use the platform and how to really solve some of these challenging business problems like product launch today. And I do appreciate yourself, Ashish and AJ, for inviting me to come speak today. So AJ, we'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jason. And now I will share today's agenda for the webinar. So primarily, we will first share a brief about Accrete and Creatio and the solutions they are offering to different industries. And then we will talk about the different challenges, product launch challenges that as an industry, different industries are facing, and how to overcome that using Creatio solutions. And in the end, we will definitely go for a live product launch demo also that will be done by Jason. So I will start. I will hand over to Ashish to start today's presentation. Ashish.
Thanks, Ajay. So I'll just do a quick overview of Accrete. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We were formed in 2008 from ex-Big Five companies like KPMG, Bearing Point, Pricewaterhouse. We are a Creatio partner and an SAP partner. SAP partner for a long time and Creatio partner for the last year and a half. Our core competency is in the business process definition of sales, service, marketing, logistics, etc. And we work in different verticals like heavy equipment industry, heavy equipment, medical devices, life sciences, etc. Manufacturing, etc. So that's in a quick nutshell about Accrete. Next slide.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about Creatio as well and how we work with Accrete to help solve some of these challenging needs that companies like yours face every single day. Now, if you've never heard of Creatio, that's okay, it's not a problem. But we have been around a while. We've been around since the early 2000s, a little over 20 years now. Our focus has always been on helping customers have the freedom to automate business processes throughout their organization. The company was previously known as BPM Online, and then we rebranded to Creatio about 4 years ago now. But really what we're focused on is giving you a no-code solution, or low code in some instances, to be able to help transform your business automation by providing you a one platform that allows you to customize your workflows for both front office, back office, and mid office applications to really solve complex business needs. Now, there's a lot of conversation that goes around about no code in today's world. There's a recent Forbes article, and I've got a picture of it on the screen here, that talks about why we use our own product, and other conversations kind of spin off of this, which is why other companies use our product, because no code and low code help us accelerate changes within our organization as new needs come up. We know that consumer demand has changed dramatically, whether it was the COVID outbreak, whether it was a global war that's broke out, whether it's the recessionary challenges. All of these things really drive consumers to change their behavior, which means businesses need to keep up with that. And no code provides a very good way and platform to be able to do it. We do this because it helps you start projects faster, accelerate time to market, drives better alignment within your organization, the business processes and consumer demand, and really improve agility, which ultimately means a higher ROI because your TCO overall comes down. You're getting product out to meet this consumer demand much faster. Now, this idea of one platform, it's to really automate, like I said, any business process flow. The foundational piece of our product is called Studio Creatio. On top of that, we have built all sorts of, if you go look us up on Gartner or Forrester, you'll see we've got leading solutions in the CRM space, either the BPM and DPA space. We help companies build industry workflows, and this may look familiar because this is a standard methodology that's used in today's business called BPMN 2.0 methodology. I had an executive ask me one time, well, what's the difference between this and something like Visio? Well, the ultimate answer is in Visio, it's great. You can map out and draw processes. But with Creatio Studio, you execute processes. And these are great because you can do human in the middle or human interaction processes, whereas something like RPA, you can't. So there's some really good use cases out there about how we interact with RPA and work hand in hand to really automate a lot of these processes. But today we're going to specifically talk about some of the manufacturing workflows and specifically product launch capability. But if you think about it, product launch touches a wide variety of spaces within our organization. This is kind of an overview of all of the stakeholders that typically sit within a manufacturing organization. And when we think about specifically product launch, it covers just about all of these areas: marketing and promotion, sales, operations, customer support, procurement, supply chain. All of these stakeholders have some piece or part of the product lifecycle. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to break this down and think about it and how you can automate some of these things here in a minute. But what we find is that, and Ashish could have talked to it, what we find is that a lot of customers of ours and a lot of companies like yours do this very manually. And I will tell you, if you're doing this very manually today, whether it's tracking in a spreadsheet or everybody's trying to coordinate via email, maybe you've got some sort of project plan that you're doing, we find that a lot of these things are very disjointed and don't have a lot of visibility. So this is a really good area where companies can help make sure that they get these product launches done on time, because obviously that impacts the rest of the business. So I'm going to head it back over to Ashish for a second. And Ashish, can you talk to us a little bit about how companies are struggling in this specific area?
Sure. So according to Gartner, 45% of the product launches are delayed or get into trouble. Now, I mean, why does that happen? And as Jason was just mentioning, many of the processes during product launch are manual. I mean, one of the key questions you would ask is, what is the end-to-end product launch process? Now, most companies probably would not have an answer. Like, do they have an end-to-end definition? And then who owns product launch? I mean, it should be ideally be marketing, but is engineering involved? R&D owns it, or who owns the end-to-end launch process is a key question, which is typically an issue in most companies. Then have the salespeople, have the tech support folks, have the customer service, have the channel partners been properly trained? Do they have the tools to support? Has there been proper communication? Is there a dashboard which says what is the status of the product launch process? So things like that are a big challenge. Then the other thing is there a sufficient budget and is there a sufficient resources allocated to the product launch process? Have demos and documentation and uh, documentation between engineering and production, like bombs, schematics, drawings. Have that been done? Has any competitive analysis and user research been done? Have the digital assets like video, promotional videos, emails, graphics, etc., been done? So there's a lot of stuff which has to be done during a product launch. And one of the key ones which also is there, have the systems like ERP system or a PLM system or a CRM system being integrated with the product launch process. So these are some of the challenges which we have seen. And the next slide we're going to talk about the types of product launches. Again, there could be many types. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So these are some of them. Like you can have a new product launch, which is you are launching a new product line, like you have an iPhone product line, or you could have a product line extension. You're launching a new version of a iPhone, or you could have a product modification, which means you have changed features, or you're having a iOS version or a iPhone version 12, 13 launched, etc. And then you could also have a geographic launch, which means you have localizations. You're launching something in Asia or Malaysia, for example, and you have local languages, etc. So in all of these, there are a lot of stakeholders which are involved. Next slide. The complexity of the product launch can be shown by this example, in which you have marketing who has to define and identify and define the product, define the ROI, define the value proposition, develop content, perform email campaigns, brand awareness, user research, marketing material, etc. Then they need to communicate with engineering for all the engineering change requests, schematics, the creation of material and bombs, routings, etc. And that needs to be communicated to manufacturing as well, for them to validate the bombs and routings. How do you procure them? Hence, procurement gets involved as well. What is the cost of the procurement of the bomb components? What is the finished product cost? What is the list price? What are the taxes and rules? Needs to be defined by finance. You also have quality involved as well, because what's the quality inspection process for the finished product as well as the components being received. These are some of them. Again, if you look at the bottom, we also have additional stakeholders like customer support, field service, technical support, sales, warehousing, legal. I mean, you name it, the entire company is literally involved. So the chances of a failure are quite high with so many touch points. And lastly, integration with the ERP for the material or the part number, the bombs, the routings, the quality inspections, the cost, the list price, etc., also needs to be done, which again is done by different departments. And in our experience, doing this is quite often, most of the stuff is done manually, including updation of ERP systems as well. Now, with this complexity, how do you make sure you have a solution which automates some of the processes? Now, Creatio is one such solution wherein you can build apps quickly, and also do automation of business processes and workflows. And then, they also have APIs which can talk to ERP and CRM systems. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Jason to talk about how can we quickly develop an app by which, you can simplify the product launch process and make it a success.
Yeah, thanks, Ashish. And I want everybody to remember this chart because you're going to see this from a systemic standpoint here in just a couple of minutes. And as we think about all those different steps, one of the things I want to do today when I do this demo is I want to really showcase to you how a no-code platform can help you achieve these things, right? I'm going to showcase the product launch application, and I'm going to kind of walk you through some different business flows and different business processes that can kind of help guide you and automate a lot of these things. So without further ado, let's switch over and look at Creatio. Now, what you're going to see right here is, call it your landing page. It's when you first log in, and you can have all sorts of different landing pages and different information that's displayed to you. But what you see on the screen right now is a quick, easy dashboard that I put together in just a couple minutes to talk about the number of products that we have within the launch pipeline, the number of products that we're planning to launch in the next 60 days, and then kind of a little spline graph there to talk about what's upcoming. But really, if we want to get to the deep details, let's look at how the product launch application could look inside of Creatio. Now, what you're seeing here, again, I remind you, I'm not a technical developer. I built this application at its foundation probably within about 3 hours worth of work, maybe 4. But it was very easy to configure these pieces, build out the dashboards, build out some reporting, build out business processes behind this to help you manage this entire process. And as you can see, very easily, I'm able to present how many products are in the different stages that we talked about, how many are in the total product pipeline. I can develop a list view, product by product owner, product by status, product by SKU number, product by plan launch date. All of these things, you can very easily configure what data you want to see and what data you don't very easily. Now, if I dig into a couple of these, I'm going to start with one that's fairly early on in the process, which is this attachment bolt. You can see that I can put information in a very graphic visual way, split it up by areas, right? So in this case, it's in engineering. So the product owners maybe entered some base information. Engineering still got some work to do. Finance hasn't got there yet, so I don't have product cost or product list price or any of that stuff figured out. But what you can see first across the top is we have all of these different groups that need to play as part of the product launch lifecycle. We talked about that earlier, and Ashish kind of gave you the PowerPoint version. Now, I'm going to take you into the back end a little bit, but what you can see just really quick is we've got these tasks, right? So as someone who's in engineering, they have these tasks to complete. But I want to look a little bit deeper at how this is set up and how this is configured. This is where the power of no code comes together. You can very easily define not only the visuals, but also the processes through just drag and drop capability. Now, again, without having to write a single line of code, I'm able to define a lot of different things. So this overall are all of those things that you saw within that very busy graphic. But what we've got is we've been able to define different tasks and activities. Some are mandatory. You see that with the little asterisk. Some are not. But I've been able to define these steps for all of the different groups. Now, as you can see, some of them are mandatory, some of them aren't, but these are the things that people need to think about and execute as they go through the process. Now, here's what's also interesting. I have the ability to define things like, is this an approval? Do I need to open some sort of edit page or data entry page? Do I need to perform a task? Maybe send an email, notify somebody of what's going on within the process. I also want you to note, I can call sub-processes, and we're going to talk about business processes kind of as a discrete level here in just a few minutes. But what you're going to see is I can use this end-to-end orchestration to help trigger small sub-processes that can be automated. Things like SKU promulgation across multiple systems. You notice I've got update SAP here. I've got this set as a manual task right now, but it would be very easy for me to put an API in this workflow that takes information from my product and simply calls a product update or a product create call for SAP, or it could be any ERP system. So all of those things can be used. Did you guys lose my screen perchance?
No.
You still see it? Okay. I had a little thing pop up over here, so I wasn't sure. So all of these things can be used to help automate these processes and make sure that all of the necessary steps are completed. Now, what's nice about these things is when I look at these different stages, I can define where you're coming from, where you're going to, how you migrate through these steps, and then you can, set up some different visuals. You can also do this at an individual task level, right? So who should be doing the task? When is this triggered? How do I notify them? How do I move through? Is this something that's triggered at the start of a stage, or maybe it's triggered after a previous step? Same thing like approvals and workflows. I can define who does it, who's responsible for it, what role or level of access is needed to be able to approve that, right? In this case, it's sent to a department, but it could be a director, could be a VP, right? Whoever has that level of approval. It could also be delegated so that things don't hit bottlenecks and delay product launches. All of these things are set up in such a way that it gives the maximum amount of flexibility while still aligning and adhering, call it giving guide rails to the overall process. The best part is you gain the visibility where there was none in the past, right? If this was being managed in emails or Excel spreadsheets or something like that, now you have that visibility throughout the process to be able to do this. So you can see that we've defined all of these steps, and I'm going to kind of step through what this looks like as you're going through. Now, there's going to be times when, maybe I need to update a product launch date. All right, I'm going to say that this is 3/1/2023. It's coming up pretty quick. And notice I've got something like a little boolean down here, ERP updated. This would be one right now. It's showing that, look, I have not updated my ERP system. Well, I can run an automated business process that will call that API. And when I get that confirmation back from the ERP system, that it actually updates here. Now, I don't have that automated for this demo, but you can see how that process would work. You can also see as you move through these different steps, the ones with the asterisks are obviously required. You're making sure that all of those necessary pieces get done so that you don't miss something as simple as, oh, I need to update a product marketing document. Oh, I need to make sure that I define the bill of material. Now, as you go through this, notice it automatically moved up to procurement. And the same type of thing goes on as you move through the different stages. You'll have different required steps. Some are necessary, some are, optional. But you can see how easy it is that as these tasks are completed, not only do I gain visibility, I'm helping manage the entire product launch lifecycle. So as you can see, I've moved it from engineering all the way up to product and operations review. And that's just an example of what it could look like. And as you get that, you'll notice all of my dashboards, my graphics, and all of my product information out here is updated so that I have that full visibility no matter where I'm at in the life cycle. Oh, I've got a product launch coming up on 2/1. Boy, that one might be in trouble. It's with product and operations. I need to go make sure that the remaining steps get done. Well, what's left in this process? Well, it's with product and ops. Wow, operations needs to get done with these steps. Otherwise, I'm going to miss my launch date in just a few days. So this is how you can actively use a system to automate a lot of those processes that we were talking about kind of high level in that dashboard. So I want you to think about how your organization is working today. Are you doing it manually? Are you coordinating via email? All of these things can be put within a system so that you gain that full visibility. And then you're going to drive some of that automation as well, which is really going to help, and it's going to drive a lot of additional value. A couple other things that I wanted to show you: how easy it is to make modifications to a no-code application. So if you just think about, I'm going to go back to just any product page. Let's say I wanted to add some additional information that I wanted to capture in here. Well, it's as simple as going to the configuration wizard and literally dragging my way into additional information. Now, let's say that I wanted to add in a photo or an image. If I wanted to add an image in, it would be very easy for me to come to the product owner, drop a placeholder for an image in there, and then I can start to configure, what is this? This is going to be a product image. and I can start to configure my way to expanding the capability within the app. Maybe I wanted to add in who my preferred vendor is from a finance standpoint. Okay, well, let's add in preferred vendor. So you have the ability to capture all this additional information. Now, just so you see how these things happen in real time, you notice none of that information is there right now. I am going to save this update. And with the power of no code, as you're making these changes in the front end, the system automatically makes these changes in the back end for you. You don't need an army of developers. You need folks that are techno-functional, understand the business process, understand a little bit about data and how things work and how you capture data. But the system itself is updating the front end UI. It's updating any of the business processes. So if I said that these were mandatory, it would make sure that you could not move through the business process without capturing that mandatory data. It's also updating all of the database structure on the back end. So now that that's saved, I'm going to come back out. I'll do a quick refresh on the page. And you notice my preferred vendor slot is now here. My ability to upload a photo is now here. Well, I'm just going to grab that for now, just as any kind of photo. And now I have expanded the capability of my application, and that took all of about a minute. This is how easy it is and how flexible the platform is for you to be able to modify and adjust this to your business needs. Maybe you don't have all of these steps up here. That's no problem. You can literally come back to this and either add in new stages or take away steps. Maybe you don't have all of these groups clearly defined, or maybe some of these process steps are sitting within a different group than I've got them laid out here. That's not a problem. You can simply drag and drop and move them around without writing a single line of code. So I hope that shows you how flexible and how easy this platform is to use. Now let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that kind of go hand in hand with this. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to save it. So we talked about the end-to-end process orchestration. One of the other big things that I want to talk about as well is some of the other business processes in the back. Now, Creatio itself isn't just about this product launch. Overall, there's all sorts of things that we focus on. But I mentioned earlier that the foundational element of our platform is called Studio Creatio. Now, we have a ton of different processes already built within the library. You can build your own processes from scratch. But what's so interesting, you can do things like remove obsolete push notifications. So in this case, it's if I'm sending a notification to somebody and I get a bounce back that nobody's home, it'll just remove that so that it stops sending those. Maybe you'll notify somebody else. You can do things like send emails, define email templates. Those are fun. So if I've got a bunch of emails, like you saw in that one, it was a product launch notification. I can create email templates, again, using no code, that allows you to define systemic data within an email. You also have the ability to create, call it good quality content, all using a no code creation tool. And this is always good because people like interactive things. They like interactive emails. They love interactive information as it's shared with them. So you can use that as systemic data. So imagine an email like this comes with that product photo that was in the product launch and says, your product owner, has been approved for launch. Right? That'd be a great example. And you'd say, oh, great, it's scheduled for launch. You launch the announcements and you're live. Or you could set something up that says, hey, you're within 72 hours of a product scheduled launch and your mandatory steps have not been completed, as an escalation email. All those types of emails can be created, all with the power of no code. The other thing we've got is within the process library, you can link different things together. You can start building. I talked about building automations. Imagine a web service that you can call to call it SAP, Oracle, any of your APIs that you want to hook into. You can configure that merely by coming in here and configuring your way to it without writing a line of code. you select the API webhook, and this isn't just an example, but you would select the API webhook and define the method. And again, me being a non-technical guy, I can actually do this because it gives you the step-by-step pieces that you need in order to be able to define what you're going to call, what you're going to do. Is it a get? Is it a post? These are the types of things that you can define simply through clicking through a wizard, so that you don't need a ton of IT folks. Now, I will tell you that you need to make sure that the hooks are available on the ERP side. You will need to make sure that those APIs are available. That's where the IT guys come in. And IT guys can play in this environment as well. This is meant that regardless of your scripting capability, your knowledge of coding applications, that anyone can come in here and configure their way to a successful business application. These are some of the things, and there's a whole bunch more that we're happy to talk to you about. Creatio comes with an entire library of different applications that you can use, including AI and ML, maybe it's sales, service, marketing, that can help across the manufacturing landscape to really help you hone a lot of the different pieces within your organization. So with that, I want to come back to our presentation a little bit. There's a lot of great success stories that are out there that both Accrete and Creatio have worked on. On the screen are just a few where we've helped customers like you work through some of the most challenging business problems, like product launch. Creatio has the ability to not only work with you, work with your IT partnerships. If I'm talking to the business folks, work with your IT partners, or maybe even work with external partners to help you deliver successful implementations of a variety of web services. So it's not just about Creatio and the product. We also evangelize no code. I encourage you, click on the QR code on your screen right now, and I want you to take a look at the no code playbook. There's a couple of people, our CEO at Creatio and CEO of Tachyon Solutions, that have written a no code playbook. This is how organizations like yourself can really leverage the power of no code to be able to drive business process automation, business process improvement. Take something as challenging as the product launch challenges that we've got and make them easy. Bring life to something that was never visible before. We've also got a series of podcasts that I'm lucky enough to be able to host. I encourage you to follow those on both Creatio or your favorite podcasting platform. They're also out on YouTube. Follow us on LinkedIn a little bit, and I post those all the time as well. So Ashish, give me some of your thoughts about some of the stuff that we've talked about today.
Well, my take on this is that, as I mentioned earlier, product launch is a challenging process across different departments. And I think Creatio can help solve those challenges, especially using the no-code platform. I mean, if you had to build this application in a ERP solution like SAP or even any other platform, you have to start from scratch. And Creatio can help you build the application. And again, it is an RPA, for example, Creatio is much more than RPA. RPA is more for automation, but Creatio is more than that. That means you can build applications as well as automate the end-to-end processes. So I think businesses would definitely be benefited for solving any challenges which they have, which the current applications like SAP, Oracle, or Microsoft are not able to solve using Creatio.
So Ashish, I know we've got some time here from Q&A, and I do encourage everyone that's out there to put your questions in the question section. We'll start with a couple of basic ones. How much benefit from a time-saving standpoint, or how much of the time to market is kind of reduced, do you think, by automating a lot of these processes?
So I think this would be based on my experience, you probably gain an efficiency of probably about more than 50%, for automating the entire end-to-end process, because of the fact that you have a tool by which you can monitor it and check their visibility, check the status at any given point of time, and then also do follow-ups, manual or automated.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that, the kind of benchmarks that I use is somewhere between 25 and 50% for any process automation. I think that there's also an additional cost that people don't think of sometimes that's a little harder to measure, just past how fast can I get through processes. It's how many cycles do I lose currently. So if I, how many times am I missing a deadline? How many times have I had to push a product launch, right? So now you've got an opportunity cost that's lost. And a lot of times they don't even know how often this is happening. Why? Because you don't have the visibility. So one of the first things about understanding if there's a problem is being able to see it, being able to touch it, being able to feel it, and not just go, I don't think we have a problem, but actually being able to understand what the power of technology can bring in those areas. I think another interesting question that I did see too was, different industry templates, right? So I talked a little bit about industry templates and stuff earlier, but the question came up as far as industry templates and how we can solve a lot of these problems. And I'm going to go back just one more slide to answer this question. And really, in all of these areas, Creatio has different industry workflow templates. So everything from HR, onboarding, new employee onboarding, training. We've even got a learning management system within our application. But most importantly, right, the procurement, all your procure to pay processes, all of your invoicing and customer support and case and issue management. We also support all of the CPQ pieces that are part of your normal order to cash processes. So realistically, within all of this subset of teams that you have here on the screen, we've got solutions already defined and readily available for use. Ashish, you want to add a little bit more to that?
Yeah, so obviously every industry or vertical has different processes. What we showed was what we showed was a generic one, but you could change it or tweak it, and make it your own process. And as Jason showed, there are a lot of predefined processes as well, which you can reuse. But I would say every vertical, every industry, or even every company will probably have a different product launch process, or in fact any other process with their own flavors. One thing which I would like to add to the previous question was a definition of product launch KPIs. I don't think most of the companies, or any company, I would say any because somebody might have it, most of the companies don't have a product launch KPIs. How do you measure and monitor product launch KPI? And I think Creatio can definitely help with that.
Yeah, so imagine a scenario. I'll actually hop back over to the system really quick. Imagine a scenario that when I'm in the application, I've not only got a planned launch date, but after it launches, I have an actual launch date. You can start to measure the variances or measure the delta between those time frames, and you could start to see how many products are launching on time, how many products are launching with a delay, what's the average delay in cycle time, which of the stages that we talked about are causing the biggest delays, because you can track how long it takes in each one of those stages. That would allow you, for all of my Lean Six Sigma friends out there, that would allow you to really drill in where you've got the bottlenecks and focus your efforts on streamlining that particular area of the process. You might find that almost always that your product launch is getting stuck in engineering, or you may find that it's getting stuck in finance. Why? Because there's only one single person within your organization that has to manage all of that. It would be very easy to sit there and say, well, if I added another headcount there versus the lost revenue, what's the ROI on that investment? and you'd be able to make that decision with actual data. Whereas right now, again, unless you've got some sort of systemic way of measuring that and having those KPIs like Ashish talked about, it would be more of a gut feel versus actually being able to codify it with data and information from a system. It's a great question. Great question. I think we had another question that came in, which was, is the Creatio application completely no code, or can IT folks work in it too? Well, that's the beauty. Creatio is designed for creators, whether you're highly technical, techno-functional, more like myself, who kind of understands IT but never really coded. We have a full IDE that is available within the application. You have the ability to administer a system, not only from a, call it a normal admin standpoint, you also have the ability to build your own applications, just like I did for the application you saw. That's what the product launch app. You have the ability to build new applications without writing a single line of code. But for those folks who do like to get into the code a little bit further, we have that full IDE in the back end that allows you to see, touch, and modify the source code as well. Here's an example. This is in one of the other apps that I have in the in this particular instance. And this isn't going to have a whole lot of data in it, but you can see we have a full IDE that allows you to bring in code from other applications. Maybe you have an application that you're trying to lift and drop from a legacy platform, or you need to do some cloud modernization. Creatio is a great platform to be able to help you do that, and simply use a lot of the code base that you already have, as well as take advantage of the no-code platform to help accelerate that that life cycle for getting applications up and running. Another question I think that comes to my mind, and Ashish, I'm going to ask this one directly to you, which is if it's so much no code, right? So much that we can empower folks to do. Why does it make sense to bring in a partner like Accrete to help bring product launch or something else like that to bear?
Yeah, so one of the key things which we bring to the table is business process. The end-to-end business processes. Many companies just know, let's say, order to cash or just know service. What we bring to the table is the end-to-end business process knowledge, and what are the challenges which most companies have, even though they may have a ERP like SAP or Oracle, or a CRM like Salesforce or Microsoft, etc. But that only solves a portion of the challenge. And building an application on Salesforce or even SAP is quite expensive and time consuming, and requires a lot of resources. Whereas what we bring to the table along with Creatio is quickly get the application developed and even train you guys to do the application yourself as well.
Yeah, I think that's right on point, because partners like Accrete, when here at Creatio, we work with a lot of different partners, but partners like Accrete bring not only product knowledge from a Creatio standpoint, they bring so much industry expertise, right? Coming from a background of working with the ERP systems and understanding the manufacturing vertical, it really helps accelerate how fast you can get solutions to market, right? They understand end-to-end business flow, as Ashish was mentioning. So if you're talking about order to cash processes, or you're talking about PLM, all of these things, they understand that language. They work with you to help stand side by side as you set these things up. The beauty of these no-code applications, for those of you who have maybe worked in an Agile or Scrum methodology, we talk about it in the no-code playbook, but we're really talking about how to establish fusion teams, get all the folks that are impacted by the application, the IT stakeholders, the business stakeholders, your pro devs, your no-code creators, or some people call them citizen devs, your analysts, your QA folks, working in the same environment. But because it's no-code, it accelerates much faster. You need someone like Accrete to be able to come in and help put all those pieces together, teach you how to fish, as the saying goes, so that you understand the power and can then start to take over and do your own dev on the platform. It doesn't take a long time to get up to speed, but obviously having a partner like Accrete come in with you can accelerate it that much faster. So I think that's a great question. And Ashish, I think that you nailed it right on the head. And I think that personally, I know Accrete is, when we think about partners for different opportunities, Accrete's my #1 partner, specifically when it comes to manufacturing, supply chain, and CPG. But it's also, you know, you guys, anytime somebody says, oh, I've got SAP, Accrete's one of the first companies that comes to my mind, right? Because you guys have such deep knowledge of the different modules, right? OM, MM, those types of things inside of SAP, and you understand how those pieces flow within the overall process. So I think that's a great question. Is there any other questions from the audience? I am a little out of questions from what's come in and everything, so I'd love to hear from them. Ashish or AJ, what else is on your mind today?
Do we have any questions from the audience now, or?
No, we've exhausted our list of what's out there right now. That's why it's just, we've got a couple more minutes here. I wanted to see if you guys had any more thoughts before we wrap up.
No, I think I think we shared what the Creatio platform can do and what Accrete brings to the table. So we look forward to working with whoever is interested.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you inviting me to come and talk about Creatio today, and to really showcase the power of the platform. And again, when it comes to, you know, whether it's PLM or any of these manufacturing use cases, I do highly encourage everyone that's listening today and listening on the record, check out Creatio, check out Accrete Consulting. Together, we make an absolutely amazing team, and I look forward to meeting some of you in the future.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the presentation, and thanks, AJ, for hosting it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason and Ashish. It was an excellent presentation and insight on how to launch a successful product where companies are facing challenges, right? So to people who are attending our webinar, we will, you guys will receive a follow-up email with a link to view our recording of today's webinar that we will share in next couple of days, maybe tomorrow or Monday. On behalf of Accrete, Creatio, and our presenters, Jason and Ashish, thank you everyone for joining us today, and have a nice day.
Okay, bye.